All right, welcome everybody back to our year-long series on scaling for success. We're happy to have you as we continue to talk about marketing for scaling businesses. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. I wanted to let you know a little bit about Keystone Click. We're a strategic digital marketing agency based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We blend creativity, innovation, and strategic thinking to help create powerful digital marketing strategies that drive results and fuel growth to help businesses just like yours excel in the digital landscape. We have an exciting session ahead where we're going to talk about how scaling businesses like yours can identify and engage new audiences effectively. So if we haven't met, I'm Nicole Morton. I'm the digital Director of Marketing Operations at Keystone Click, and with me is my colleague, Abby.
Hi, everyone. I am Abby, and I am the digital content manager here at Keystone Click. So just getting into today, whether you're looking to expand to new markets or just refine what you're already doing for your audience targeting, we're really excited to help provide you with some guidance and some actionable tips. If you have questions at any time today, feel free to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A function. I will be monitoring that throughout our time today. Likely we will get to all of them at the end, but if there's anything that seems really prudent to check in on while we're going, we will do that as well.
Awesome. All right, so here's what, by the time we get to the end of the presentation today, here's what we want you to have a better understanding about. So we're going to talk about when businesses might find the need to market to new audiences and why that's important. We'll touch on some of the basics of market research with a specific focus on identifying your new target audience with some tools and tips that we use in our own marketing research. Finally, we'll talk about how to build and when you use a customer persona to bring all of the insights from your research to life. So let's dive in.
All right. So like Nicole said, we're going to start by talking about a few ways that you, or a few reasons that you may want to start reaching new audiences. And baseline, it's just helpful to know that reaching new audiences isn't just about growing your business and scaling your business. It's also just a crucial part of adapting in a business landscape that's always changing. It's really kind of what helps your business stay afloat in those changing tides. So a few reasons that you may want to market to some new audiences. You can see on the slide here, we have to diversify your revenue sources, to give your business a little bit more stability, like I just mentioned previously, and to also increase your overall market presence. Expanding into these new audiences really helps you check all of these boxes, which makes your business more stable going forward. When we start tapping into markets that competitors may not be addressing as effectively, you can also help establish yourself as a leader in your space, which captures more market share, but also enhances the brand's overall market presence. And what you're looking at on the screen right now is a little bit of some insight into our research model at Keystone Click. With all new business ventures, like Nicole mentioned before, you have to start with research if you want to be successful. You have to know who you're talking to and know some key points about them in order to have effective marketing and effective messaging. When we work with businesses to create their marketing strategies and to help drive their growth, we often start with a research and strategy engagement. And as you can see on the slide here, audience research is one of the critical components of that project. And it really helps drive the strategy going forward.
So like Abby was alluding to, so in effective market research is foundational in identifying and understanding your new target audience, who they are and how you need to speak to them. So we've got to get a survey of what the landscape looks like. We need to understand their needs and also where there are opportunities to fill gaps in the marketplace. Understanding your customer base means things like reviewing your own analytics data, engaging directly with your customers through interviews and surveys, especially customers that do a large volume of business or have been with you for a long time or have come back from multiple engagements. They're your best insight into the impact that your business has on your current audience and how you can extrapolate that data into new audiences. There's a lot of tools on the marketplace that help with conducting market research. I know that SEMrush is a tool that we use personally a lot. It gives a lot of insight into your company amongst your competition and identifies opportunities for growth. Also, larger sort of enterprise level tools like Nielsen IQ are great for gathering initial data. SurveyMonkey, and there are many different tools, even as something as simple as a Google form, to get feedback from your clients to create sort of maybe a survey or an info gathering session where you can kind of get their feedback to collate into insights. All of this is going to help you decide how you stand amongst your peers and also reveal opportunities for growth. It's just where you add value and where you can differentiate yourself amongst the competition. So, but it doesn't stop there. This is the best part. When you have all of these insights, then it's time to put your research to work and build your customer persona. So Abby, this is your favorite part.
So we're going to chat really quickly about what a customer persona is and why you need one, why you should have one. And then we're going to talk a little bit later about how you can create one that will work for your business. So first, what is a customer persona? So a customer persona is a tool that you use in your marketing that kind of makes your marketing strategy more relatable to you and your team. It helps you envision your marketing audience as an actual living, breathing person that is similar maybe to some people you might know. They help you understand and anticipate the needs and behaviors of your audience based on actual data and insight that you've gathered along the research process. So you'll have a chance to think about their lifestyles, their challenges, their goals. What's really important is to keep in mind kind of those emotional cues that they may have, because as we know, that's where effective marketing and advertising really hits the mark. Long story short, a customer persona will help you tailor your marketing strategies directly to the people that you wish to speak to. So when you're creating your personas, there are a few things that you want to include. Give them a name. We recommend, although it can be easy to get a little bit carried away with their name and give them maybe a silly name, we recommend that you make it as accurate to their demographics as you can. A short little bio, tell us about them, who they are, what they like. Obviously, their basic demographics like age, gender, location, what they're looking for as a customer, their motivations, their pain points, and how they typically would travel through the customer journey for your sales cycle.
So what does this look like in practice? Abby and I had a lot of fun deciding how we wanted to mock up a customer persona. And this is, very similar to the process that we go through in our research and strategy. So we're like, who is a universally beloved individual that, you think you know a lot about, but when you dig a little bit deeper, it reveals insights that you may have not been considering. So we were imagining that a clothing company who specializes in custom knit cardigans might have someone like Fred Rogers as their ideal customer. So like Abby said, it's an avatar, but it's something that you can actually measure all of your strategic initiatives against. Is this something that would be relevant to Fred? Is this something that sounds like it would be a natural conversation with him? Is this something he would be receptive to? So we went through and we gathered all of our biographical and demographical data. So at the time, rest his soul, but we're going to pretend that he's still with us and he's in his mid-60s. Clearly, he is a television host and an author and an award-winning producer located in Pittsburgh. what we asked when we were developing this persona, we were thinking, okay, so if Fred Rogers was alive at this time, what would his media diet likely be like? So he would be getting his information from places like YouTube, especially educationally formatted channels, TED Talks, especially TED Ed. He probably would be part of communities on Facebook, maybe parenting and education communities or academic communities on Facebook, and probably promoting a lot of content about parenting, family dynamics, education on places like LinkedIn. So, we're all familiar with his biography, but what we wanted to kind of take that a little bit deeper is specific to this business. So imagine, again, this is a cardigan, a clothing company that wants to market a new line of cardigans. So Abby, what would Fred's needs and challenges be like?
Yeah, so these are the needs and challenges sections of your customer personas they seem maybe a little bit superfluous, but they actually really are where you're going to get the most marketing juice, if you will. So if you see under the needs that we've listed for Mr. Rogers, first is comfortable clothing. Not only clothing that reflects his persona on screen, but clothing that's easy to wear and aligns with his gentle nature.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's cozier than a sweater, and who's cozier than Mr. Rogers?
For real.
Pooh Bear, maybe, but you get where we're going. Part of where we're drawing these needs from is we're looking at Mr. Rogers' lifestyle. Why does he need clothes that are easy to wear? Well, we know that he's always out and about, doing new things, feeding the fish, talking to the mailman.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's chilly, maybe he wants to put his cardigan on outside. If it's warm in his house, he takes it off. It's easy. It works with what he's already doing every single day. He wants high quality materials that are durable, again, to last him on all of his neighborhood adventures.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Mr. Rogers cares about sustainability. He's a friend to all, including the earth. And we really know that he cares about values, right? So
Mm-hmm.
he needs to find a cardigan brand that shares his values, like kindness, compassion, community service, and also just community togetherness.
Mm-hmm.
I think our cardigan company would probably be extra successful marketing to him if it were local to Pittsburgh. I'm sure he would love that especially. What are Mr. Rogers' challenges? He struggles to find clothing that meets all his needs, particularly ethical production practices, and that comfort and quality that we discussed. He also struggles, like we were just saying, to find brands that align with his values. We know that that is top of mind for Mr. Rogers. That is what he is walking and talking all day.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to find him a cardigan company that aligns with what he cares about. And then finally, we all know fast fashion and how overwhelming the textile industry is. There's a lot of things for him to choose from, and that can be a little bit daunting. So we want to give him a clear, easy solution.
So that's a persona that is, primarily focused on a B2C. So how can a clothing manufacturer satisfy an end consumer? But we also thought that we needed to take a look at what might be a B2B customer persona. So we're going from someone who is universally loved to the one that everybody loves to hate. So Darth Vader, legendary Sith Lord, who is actually a customer avatar for a spacefaring commercial builder who would be supplying parts and services to build the Death Star. So again, we have our fun fact. I did not know that Darth Vader was 40 when he perished in the last film. We know that he's primarily located on the Death Star on the planet Geonosis. Again, did we had to extrapolate if he were spending time on Earth, where would his media diet be? He would clearly be perusing YouTube. He would also be looking on TED Ed to find out how we kind of make our decisions, maybe trying to get more of the scientific angle. I can imagine he would be sharing pictures of the Death Star on Facebook and also looking for partnerships, strategic partnerships on LinkedIn. So Again, his goals are to ensure the successful completion of the Empire Space Station to solidify control over the galaxy. So he's going to need a B2B partner who would allow him to do that. So Abby, play along with me. When we look at Darth Vader's needs and wants, durable and high quality construction materials, clearly to be able to withstand attacks in the harsh environment of space. Advanced
speed.
technology in construction design, because we need to be able to optimize the building processes under tight deadlines for the Empire, and reduce vulnerabilities, even though, you know, there is an air shaft that he's not paying attention to. Reliable partners and suppliers who clearly have to be able to hold to tight security parameters and with the utmost of secrecy.
I think, can I stop you there, Nicole, really quick?
What?
Sorry, I just wanted to mention, I think when we're talking about B2B especially, it's important to know, like in this example, Darth Vader is not out there with his space hammer and space nail building the Death Star himself. So it's important to know who at a company you may be talking to, and are they decision makers or are they doers? Are they organizing, or are they doing the day-to-day work? Obviously, Darth Vader, like we said, he's not out there building things himself. So we need to tailor our messaging accordingly.
Right. So he's looking for someone who is reliable, discreet, provides quality materials, can follow deadlines, and, you know, make sure that they're downstream, so their staff and their construction workers are in line with the values of the average Sith Lord. So we hope you we hope you enjoyed these mock personas. But you can see that, you know, we've gone and we're knitting together a lot of nuanced things between, you know, you can extrapolate only so much from the demographics. So imagine that we would have done customer surveys to get some of this information so that we can create an avatar like Darth Vader or like Fred Rogers, that again, that we can be use as a touchstone for all of your messaging going forward. So
I would also say,
playing along with us.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
I would also say that if you're kind of struggling to build a persona for your actual target market, start off with something easy, like a really famed character like a Darth Vader, a Fred Rogers. We went through so many different characters when we were choosing these two, but start with something that you know really, really well, just so you can kind of get your hands dirty and understand the exercise and building the persona for what it is, and then you can apply it to something that's a little bit more challenging, like your actual target audience.
Yeah, that's really important, because you don't have to dive in and be knowledgeable, right? This is an iterative process. So to that end, you know, when you are building your customer persona, you don't have to be working in the dark. There are plenty of tools at your disposal that you can use to start crafting these. You can be using tools to gather insights like HubSpot. You can use ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or other large language model software to be just giving you ideas and brainstorming, and you know, even Perplexity to do a little bit of, you know, Google Foo, so that you don't have to be like combing through data all by yourself. There's also plenty of online templates that for a persona, not only a presentation, but also checklists to make sure that you have gathered all the data that you're going to be needing. You know, it's really important to have more than you need and to be able to kind of trim away, rather than trying to like build a persona and then realize that you've missed a facet of what will end up being your messaging going forward. You want to make sure that when you're addressing this persona, you're looking at, you know, what are their fears, what are their dreams, clearly what are their pain points, and what are their values and goals, so you can see how your messaging will align with those. One of the things that we didn't touch on is, you know, finding out what they would pay a premium to be able to obtain. So, you know, perhaps for the customer persona of Fred Rogers, if sustainability is a deal breaker, if you could have, you know, some sort of documentation about how and with what materials the cardigan was made, that might be very important to him. So for Lord Vader, it could be, you know, a satisfaction guarantee or a clause that has, you know, if you go beyond X date, here is, you know, that he would get a reverse credit or things like that. So what what would be an absolute deal breaker, and how can you mitigate the risk of them saying yes? And then finally, the big thing would be when you're translating this persona into messaging, answering from the perspective of the persona, you will gain my trust and comfort by doing what? What do you have to do to be able to get them to yes and to make this a seamless transition? And you did it, you're going to have to do it again, because the customer persona is an iterative process. It doesn't stop at launch. Marketing in general, we know, is never static. So we're going to be talking about, as your audience evolves, so should your persona or multiple personas. You're going to have to refine and revisit those over time based on new data. You may have new offerings. You may find that there are shifts in your new target market. There may be cultural or political or socioeconomic events that make for example, like the impact of remote work in the early 2020s had major market shifts. So every time that there's something seismic or that you feel that you are kind of outgrowing, it's always time to go back and revisit these things. So thank you for waiting patiently for the Q&A session. We want to open up the floor and answer some of your questions about identifying new audiences.
All right, so I'm looking at the Q&A function, Nicole. I'm actually not able to see the chat with participants, so I might have you check on that for me. But
Okay.
There is one question in the Q&A that I think you would be a great person to answer. And it says, what are some common mistakes to avoid when trying to expand into new markets?
When trying to expand into new markets. Okay, so one thing is, the biggest thing would be jumping in without your research. Research is at the core of all the decisions you're going to be making going forward. It's really important to know where you're coming from in order to know where you're going to. So it's so very important to understand how your message is going to be received, and you can't do that unless you understand who you're talking to. Also, maybe shooting too large, too wide of a campaign, too much in a large campaign without doing iteration prior to that. So I would recommend going small, gathering data and iterating further from that. Smaller focused efforts are going to give you the feedback that you need to go forward without launching a full campaign and then finding that there are pieces missing or that it's not being received or falling flat. That would be the biggest thing, the biggest considerations for, when you're trying to expand into new markets. Let's see, I've got a question. Abby, how would you answer this? And we touched on this just a little bit. How frequently should I update my customer personas, and when do I know that it's time to do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think of your persona like somebody that you know. Think of the details within the persona as your friends' preferences, their likes and dislikes. I actually like to think about it. I like to think about a persona like a really picky friend that you try to go to dinner with. I don't know about you guys, but when I have a really picky friend, I have lists in my notes app on my phone of things that they like and things that they don't like, which is kind of like your customer persona, right? If you have new information that isn't changing the game completely, feel free to add it at any time that you gather new information, right? When we know better, we do better. So add that new information when you have it. If you're noticing big shifts, that's a good sign that it's time to make a bigger, larger refresh. We recommend checking in annually, minimally, or again, whenever you have new information, you're noticing that maybe you're not connecting quite as well as you used to, or if there are big kind of technology changes that are changing how your audience interacts with your brand and your business and whatever campaigns you may be running at that time.
That's important. All right.
All right.
So
well,
as we're getting towards the end, what do we want our audience to be able to do, Abby?
Yeah, so as we're wrapping up, y'all, We would love to invite you to download your free copy of a customer persona checklist that helps you kind of do this exercise on your own. It'll work for your favorite character or for your actual target customer. You can use the QR code that's on your screen to scan it, or you can go to that bit.ly link that is on the screen as well. And we do hope that if you enjoyed your time with us today, that you'll come back next month for our next webinar. Is your brand ready for your new audience? We'll be talking all about how you can prepare your digital footprint to reach a new audience, because you kind of have to, when you're reaching a new audience, roll it back to brand awareness. You want to make sure that all of your digital assets are prepared to speak to brand new prospects.
Yeah.
That webinar will be next month, May 23rd at 1 p.m. Central.
And, if you missed some of our webinars from last quarter where we focused a little bit on brand building, we'd invite you to go back into the earlier in the series. There was a lot of really interesting and good data to gather from. So finally, again, we thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us in the middle of the afternoon. And we hope you found it informative and maybe even just a little bit fun. We're here to help you make the best marketing decisions for your business's future. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the team at Keystone Click. So my email as well as Abby's email is there. And we are active on all the socials. We would love to see you on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, or the social media platform formerly known as Twitter. But we're just a click away. So again, thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we wish you all the best on your continued business growth journey. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.